Hey everybody, welcome back to Drug Talk. As always, I'm your host, Garrett Campbell. Today I want to discuss 3 difficulties that I have dealing with bipolar disorder. So in this video, I'm going to talk about 3 things that I kind of struggle with or deal with, 3 difficulties that I have dealing with bipolar disorder. These are in no particular order, and keep in mind that these are my top 3 things that I do deal with in terms of difficulties, but these would be different from person to person that have bipolar disorder. These are just my personal thoughts on what I deal with. So the first difficulty or thing that I deal with bipolar disorder is definitely the embarrassment that comes along with having a manic episode. See, when you have a manic episode, you act a lot different, obviously. You may spend more money, have different ideas. But the thing is, when you have these ideas, you tend to share them with friends and family. You may go on social media and put posts that you would not usually put. All of these things kind of compound on top of each other, and then after the manic episode is done, after being treated in the hospital, and you come out of the hospital, you kind of have a mess left in front of you to clean up. And a lot of people are reminding you about different things that you may have done while you were manic. Sometimes the embarrassment stays with you through purchases that you may have made. There's one time when I was manic, I actually purchased a car, believe it or not. I do like the car, but it was kind of a weird purchase for me. But other things that you do that you don't normally do, and they're constant reminders of those past episodes that you've had. Besides just sharing different ideas that you may have with friends, you really act differently around friends and family, and you say things that you wouldn't normally say that, again, are embarrassing when you reflect back on them after the episode is done. Unfortunately for me, after one of my episodes, I actually lost a job due to my manic episode. My mania didn't interfere with my work at the job, but they just didn't think it was a good fit to have me on site anymore, knowing that I had this disorder. So clearly you can imagine how embarrassing that would have been for me, losing a job due to a mental illness. And this is kind of one of the reasons why I personally believe we still have a long way to go in terms of addressing mental health and mental illness. But I do think we're on the right track, and I think we've made a lot of positive strides in the right direction. The second thing that I would say I deal with, that I struggle with, the second difficulty would be dealing with anxiety. Before being diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I never experienced anxiety before. Back then, I may have thought I experienced it, but now knowing what clinical anxiety really feels like, I know that I only started to experience it after bipolar disorder. See, after you have a couple episodes of mania, you really start to stress and become very anxious, wondering if you're going to have another episode in the future. For me in particular, March, April, and May seem to be kind of the red zone or the danger zone in terms of when I'm going to experience mania, if I'm going to experience it. So leading up to those months, I do get very anxious and actually have to treat my anxiety. I talked about this in another video with clonazepam, just because it becomes so intense, just really not wanting to go through the mania again. There's also some anxiety for me leading into the winter months, as during the winter I seem to experience depression, and the depression can become very severe in terms of having suicidal thoughts or suicidal ideation. So I do get anxious as those months are approaching, just really, again, not wanting to go through depression in the same way I would want to avoid having another manic episode. I think my anxiety has gotten better over time in between episodes, now that I've gotten more control over the mania aspect of my illness. But I do think I still have a lot of work to do in terms of calming down that anxiety and kind of regaining that trust in myself that I think that I can take myself through the spring months without having an episode. The third difficulty that I experience with bipolar disorder is really regaining the comfort or the confidence in trusting your own thoughts. So obviously, like I said, when you have a manic episode, you think differently, you experience different thoughts, and that stays with you because you don't forget what happened while you were manic, you remember everything. So every morning when I wake up, I now have a bad habit of kind of going through my thoughts and overanalyzing my thoughts, just to see if there's anything there that may be grandiose, something I wouldn't normally think of, some out there ideas. So it's really a struggle to try to go with the flow and just let thoughts come into your mind, trust those thoughts, and go along with those thoughts. Again, I just seem to overanalyze everything. I think the longer I go without having an episode, currently I'm on the longest streak I've had without having a manic episode. I think as I extend those time periods, I think I'll become more confident in being able to trust my thoughts. It's just, especially like I said, when the anxiety kicks in and I'm approaching the spring months, that's when I really get scared of having a manic episode. So I really tend to overanalyze even more than usual. Anyway, so those are really the 3 most difficult things I find I have to deal with bipolar disorder. Again, the embarrassment of having a manic episode and doing the things that you do while manic, saying the things that you say. The anxiety that comes along with really stressing about not wanting to have another manic episode, and then gaining that comfort again to really trust your own thoughts. That's all I'm going to discuss in this video. I appreciate you taking the time to watch these types of videos that I make aside from medications. It's just something that I enjoy doing to try to connect with you better and show that I'm not just a pharmacist talking about medications, but medications are actually a part of my life as well, and I do struggle with illness as well. All right, so thanks again for watching. Take care.